invasion, the Alliance, they once again held its ground, and the alien orcish hordes, it did not conquer their worlds. Now this betrayal amongst the hordes, it might give an indication that not all were down with what's going on amongst their ranks. There was demon blood, there was fell magic, corruption by the Burning Legion. The orcs, they were not always these bloodthirsty monsters that came storming through the dark portal. Some of them, they decided that they had enough of the fighting and they just wanted to live out their days in peace. That would be orcs like Eitrigg. But that doesn't mean that the Alliance all of a sudden saw the orcs differently. To them, all orcs were vile and corrupt. Any found were to be imprisoned or executed on the spot. By this time, Tyrion is around the age of 50 years old, and now the governor of the prosperous Alliance territory of Hearthglen, a large forested region nestled at the crossroads between the towering Altreich Mountains and the mist-shrouded shores of Darrowmere Lake. He was respected for his deeds amongst the Alliance, but also as a just governor, and his name and deeds, they were honored throughout the kingdom of Lordaeron. His great keep, Mernehold, it was the center of commerce and trade for the bustling region. The citizens of Hearthglen took great pride in the fact that the keep's mighty walls, it had never fallen to invaders, even during the darkest days of the orcish invasion of Lordaeron. But reports are spreading about the horde reforming. This is around the time where Thrall had escaped from his internment camp and is indeed busy reforming the horde. Not to conquer the world as the horde of old, but instead to free his people from their imprisonment and carve out a piece of the land to call it home. But of course, the Alliance didn't know this, and reports of his actions, they were spreading like wildfire. So the Alliance, they were a bit on edge as it was, fearing another war, and wouldn't you know it, Tyrion, he actually runs into Eitrigg, who's been hanging out in his lands, just minding his own business and staying out of sight. Naturally, the human and orc, they fight, Tyrion slicing Eitrigg's thigh, forcing him to the ground. Instead of pushing the attack and maybe take his life, Tyrion, he backed off and slowly motioned for the creature to rise. The orc blinked in astonishment. Tyrion, he was a paladin, a knight of the Silver Hands, and to him, butchering a fallen foe in the midst of single combat, that was unquestionably dishonorable. The holy code of his order demanded that he gives the orc a reprieve. They stood for a moment, facing each other with eyes locked. The orc straightened slightly and raised his clenched fist to his heart. A salute, Tyrion realized, and now it was Tyrion's turn to blink in disbelief. Certainly, no savage orc had ever saluted him before. He conceded that perhaps there was more to the fierce creature than he would have guessed. Nevertheless, it was still his enemy. He nodded to the orc in understanding and raised his sword again. Their clash of steel, it became so intense that the building around him collapsed. Next thing Tyrion knew was waking up 4 days later, back in his own bed, after they found him unconscious, tied up to his own horse. His wife Coranda told him that he'd been talking in his sleep, mumbling about an orc. And Tyrion realized that he hadn't been dreaming or having a nightmare. He truly had faced this orc, but some way, somehow, the orc had not taken his life. Our paladin then goes back to where they had fought, and he finds Eitrigg again. To his surprise, the orc speaks his language, and the two veterans, they sit and talk about the history of the Horde, how Eitrigg had come to his lands, and how after a lifetime of fruitless war, peace is the only comfort that Eitrigg has left. This puts Tyrion in quite a bit of a spot. On the one hand, here is an orc, an enemy of the Alliance, a monster that he had fought against and defeated. On the other hand, Eitrigg had saved his life, opened his eyes that there was more to the orc than he had assumed, and perhaps most importantly, Eitrigg had shown him honor. This is something that means everything to Tyrion. So he said, "As a warrior of honor, I accept your words, Eitrigg, and in return for having saved my life, I will allow you your solitude, so long as you remain hidden and leave my people unmolested. You may stay here for as long as you wish." Eitrigg smirked, not believing that Tyrion's brethren wouldn't hunt him down anyways. But Tyrion, he is their lord, and they shall do as he says. I give you my solemn oath as a Lightsworn paladin that your secret will be safe. None shall hunt you, while I have the power to prevent it. Tyrion vowed. Eitrigg grunted in satisfaction. On your honor, then. A vow that Tyrion would soon enough regret, as back at the keep, news of the orcs in their lands, it had quickly spread, and none other than his longtime friend Saidan Duffelham, Lord Commander of the Order, had showed up to investigate. Normally, the he wouldn't step in and he would let Tyrion handle it himself. But the rise of Thrall, it makes him look closely to any and all possible orcish incursions. He orders Tyrion to lead them to where he had encountered the orc. And now Fordring, he is placed with an impossible choice. A choice between honor and duty, his vows as a paladin, his promises to the Alliance, his own core beliefs. He cannot ignore a direct order given, so he leads them to the spot. Eitric is actually still there, and they capture him. He tries to convince them to just let the orc go, that he's not hurting anyone, but to the rest of them, he seemingly lost his mind. Why is he standing up for a beast such as this? But when the guard starts whipping Eitric in his cage, Tyrion, he loses it. He pushes the guard aside, takes the whip away from him. He lets him taste the lash himself. For the sake of his honor, he tries to free Eitric from his cage. And that's a step too far, even for Davruhan, labeled as a traitor to the Alliance. They imprison Tyrion as well, and they place him on trial at Stratholme. His judge is Uther the Lightbringer, with 4 members of the jury: Lord Epenal Dalen Proudmoore, Archmage Antonidas, Archbishop Alonsus Val, and Prince Arthas Menethil. Not much of a court case, really. Tyrion takes full responsibility for his actions. He tries to explain to them why he did what he did, how Eitric had saved his life, and that he is as honorable an opponent as he has ever faced. You must understand me when I tell you, in order to follow my orders, I would have had to betray my honor as a paladin. That I could not do. That said, I will accept any punishment you deem fit. For his long duty to the Alliance, they still offer him a chance, a full pardon. All he needs to do is disavow his oath to the creature and reaffirm his commitment to the Alliance. And all of this would be forgotten. He could just return home to his beloved wife and his son Talon. I will remain committed to the Alliance until my dying day. Of that, have no doubt. Tyrion
See you later.
But I cannot disavow the oath I took. To do so would be to betray everything I am and everything that we, as honorable men, hold dear. Rubbing his eyes wearily, Uther motioned for the court to fall silent once more. He was beside himself with anguish over what he had to do, but Tyrion had stated his position clearly. So be it, Uther said ominously. Tyrion Fordring, from this day forth, you are no longer welcome amongst the Knights of the Silver Hand. You are no longer fit to bask in the grace of the light. I hereby excommunicate you from our ranks. The audience gasped at Uther's words. Excommunication was a rare, harsh punishment that stripped a paladin of his light-given powers. Though it had only been used a few times, every paladin lived in mortal fear of it. Tyrion could not fathom what was about to happen. Before he could utter another word, Uther had made a sweeping motion with his hands. Immediately, Tyrion felt a dark shadow pass over him, choking out the holy powers of the light. Panic threatened to overwhelm him as the grace and strengthening energies of the light fled his body. The blessed energies, which had been such an integral part of him for so long,
What can I do for you?
just as if they had never been. Though the light of the hall never wavered, Tyrion felt as if he'd been wrapped in darkness and cast down into oblivion, unable to withstand the rage and despair and hopelessness that washed over him in waves. He lowered his head in abject despair. Uther continued. All trappings of our order will be stripped from you, he said. His 2 paladins came forward and viciously ripped the silver plates from Tyrion's wrecked body, as well as your personal titles and holdings. Tyrion struggled against despair. Never in his life had he felt so naked and powerless. Images of Talon and Karandra sifted through his tortured mind. He had to get a grip on himself. He had to think of his dignity. On wobbly legs, he stood and faced the court once more. You shall be exiled from these kingdoms and live the rest of your days amongst the wild things of the world. May the light have mercy on your soul, Uther finished. The crime was Tyrion's, so his family did not share his punishment.
What can I do for
told
you?
him that, while she had remained at his side through all these years, this time the price of his honor, it was simply too much. She and Talon
See
were
you
going to
around.
stay in Heartland, and Tyrion felt as if his life no longer had any meaning. Losing the light, it was devastating enough. He didn't know if he could bear losing them as well. Before his exile began, the paladin spent his night riding his son
Need
on
something?
placing it under his pillow for when the day came and he was old enough to perhaps understand why he did what he did. Perhaps somehow he'll look back on his father's deeds and be proud.
Have a good one.
Still left Dietrich in the custody of the Alliance. Tyrion knew that they had tormented him to gather information, and they were now ready to move on to execution. Without the light at his side, he had to find some way to save the orc from the gallows. And he did, just as Thro and the Horde marched upon Strathholm. This gave Tyrion the opportunity to drag Dietrich out of the city. But the injuries that he had suffered, they were so great that the orc's heart stopped. Desperately, Tyrion called out to the light. By the grace of the light, may your brethren be healed. The phrase wafted through his mind repeatedly as he reached deep for the power that lurked somewhere within his spirit. In its grace, he will be made anew. The light could not be taken from him, he insisted. Men could strip him of his armor and titles. They could take away his home and his wealth, but the light, it would always be within him. It had to be. Slowly, Tyrion felt a searing heat rising within his body. It filled his center with strength and light that snaked out towards his limbs. He almost cried out in joy as the familiar energies raced through his hands and engulfed the orc's ravaged body. The paladin felt as if he were floating on air. The strength and purity of the light flooded his being and cascaded out through his body like a halo of holy fire. Awed and humbled by the reawakened power, Tyrion opened his eyes and saw that a warm, golden glow had enveloped Dietrich. He watched in amazement as the bruises on the orc's body healed before his very eyes. Even the infection on the orc's leg sealed up as if it never been. The soothing energy subsided, and Tyrion dropped to the ground in exhaustion. He'd been right. Uther was not able to rip his connection from the light. And lore-wise, as far as I know, there's only been one instance where that has actually happened. We'll talk about that moment real soon. And here we see the light responding to Tyrion's conviction. Dietrich's life is saved by the paladin. His honor and vow are intact. To which Thrall shows up. The Horde were actually here to pick up Dietrich, add the legendary orc to their ranks. The warchief of the Horde, he makes sure that his warriors do not harm Tyrion. And before he leaves, Dietrich turns around and tells Tyrion, "We are both bound by blood and honor, brother. I will not forget you." Sadly, Dietrich and Tyrion, they never really had a whole lot of moments or story in-game together. But of course, exile would not be the end of Tyrion Fordring's story. While living in the wilds, Azeroth it kept on turning. Dark schemes from the cold lands of Northrend. They placed young Prince Arthas Menethil on a road to damnation, guided by the invisible hands of the Lich King. We saw Kel'Thuzad spread the plague across the lands of Lordaeron. This was a plague designed to not only kill its citizens, but also turn them into the undead scourge. Arthas became so zealous in his mission that he picked up the cursed Runeblade Frostmourne, which did give him his vengeance. He did get the kill that he desired, but it also cost him a piece of his soul, and now is serving the very thing that he had fought against. Back in Lordaeron, he murdered his own father, and the scourge spread out across the land. Kel'Thuzad, he was resurrected as a lich, and great heroes like Uther the Lightbringer or Gavenrath the Dire, they fell to this darkness. But not all hope was lost. We also saw great heroes rise up amongst the darkness. Heroes like Alexandros Mograine and his mighty blade the Ashbringer. The undead scourge that faced him on the battlefield, they literally turned to ash as Alexandros cleaved them down. A great threat to the scourge that had to be taken care of. And once more, manipulations would do the trick. As Said and Dafruhan, Mograine and others, they charged into Strathholm to cleanse it of the undead filth. Their party got separated from each other, and Dafruhan was cornered by the Dreadlord Balnazar. After slaying the paladin and taking over his body, he then started to manipulate events from within their order, like pitching Renaud Mograine against his father, motivating him to lead him into a trap and then murder him with his very own weapon. This action corrupted the Holy Blade, and even more horrible, Alexandros' body was taken by Kel'Thuzad, twisting and torturing it, until all that remained was the Death Knight Mograine, one of the 4 horsemen, wielding that corrupted Ashbringer. In the meantime, those still holding their grounds against the Scourge, they were not doing so well. They found out about Alexandros' death, and Balnazar, he kept on corrupting them from within. While some wanted to recruit help from different races to fight against the Scourge, others believed that the organization should remain pure. In light of this, some of the members decided to split up, Whereas the Scarlet Crusade, they received Renaud Maugraine as their first commander, placed there by Balnazar in disguise. Others, they formed the organization known as the Argent Dawn, and thankfully, Maugraine, he had another son, the youngest, Darien, who teamed up with the Argent Dawn. He found out about his father, he entered Naxxramas, and he took him out. This act did indeed stop his father's physical form, but his spirit, it was still bound to the corrupted blade, and would know no rest. From the weapon, his father whispered to Darien to take him to Renaud. From the blade there rose his spirit, claiming delicious vengeance for what his son had done. The youngest of the Maugraine family, he couldn't believe what had happened to his father, but the Scourge was still gathering more and more forces, and they were getting ready to assault Light's Hope Chapel. In a dream, Darien was told to seek out Tyrion if he wanted to find a way to save his father's soul. Tyrion by now, he spent a fair few years in exile, watching his son grow up from a distance, and at first, he had no desire to listen to Darien. But he changed his mind when Darien tells him that his father's soul is at stake. The entire tale seems disturbing and unbelievable, but Tyrion can sense that his soul is indeed trapped within the blade, and he tells Darien that if there's anything that might undo the corruption, it would be an act of love greater than the act of evil that corrupted the sword. Such an act is often the ultimate test of faith. And with this knowledge in his mind, Darien makes his way back to the Argent Dawn. But before he leaves, he asks Tyrion to come back. He was once a vessel of the light, with faith, wisdom, valor, and honor. Tyrion was once a paladin and an inspiration. He could be a hero once more, but the decision is for Tyrion to make. Back at Light's Hope, Darien finds out that a massive Scourge army is making its way to the chapel. Beneath it, the Order has relocated 1,000 of the bravest souls from warriors, priests, paladins, champions of battles long past. They were all moved beneath the chapel to keep them away from the Scourge, to keep them away from being turned into their enemy. Kel'Thuzad and the Scourge, they know this. That is exactly why they want to take the chapel. And the Argent Dawn, they get ready to lay down their lives to defend their holy place. A massive battle erupts, one that not even Tyrion showing up can actually be turned around. Darien realizes what it is that he has to do, a strong act of love, an ultimate test of faith. His father had died due to betrayal. The only act that could free him was to make the ultimate sacrifice. And if Darien could free him, then perhaps Alexandros Maugraine could save the Argent Dawn from annihilation. He took the corrupted Ashbringer and decided to impale himself upon it. Luckily, his path of reasoning was right, as this selfless act, it did more than just free his father. The souls interred beneath the chapel were also awakened. Alongside Alexandros, their vengeful fury, it laid waste to the invading Scourge. Light's Hope was indeed saved that day, but many had fallen to defend it. Some, including Darien, were recovered by the Scourge. Though he had saved his father's soul, he had now damned his own. Both Darien Maugraine and the Ashbringer were now in the Scourge's hands. A new wielder for that corrupted blade. Someone that would make a return real soon. But first, Tyrion, he has his own son to worry about. That part of the story and so much more we're going to save for next week. So for now, thank you very much for watching, everyone. You can subscribe if you like my videos, leave a like if you enjoyed this one, and until next time, see ya! Hello everyone! Last week we began the story of Tyrion Fordring, talking about his path to becoming a paladin, his excommunication and exile for saving Etrick's life, to Darien Maugraine calling him back to action. We saw Darien making the ultimate sacrifice to save Light's Hope Chapel, now firmly in the hands of Kel'Thuzad and the Lich King. That's trouble for the future. First, Tyrion has his own son to worry about. His father might have been branded a traitor and exiled, but Talon never let go of his love for his father. The letter that was left behind, it stays with him all the way into adulthood. And when he follows in Tyrion's footsteps, also becomes a paladin of the Silver Hand. Tyrion, he makes sure that he's there, disguised and hidden, amazingly proud of what Talon had accomplished. As his father had hoped, he had taken his place as Lord of Merdenhold, but in a cruel twist of fate, he had also joined the ranks of the Scarlet Crusade. even became their High Lords. Not the best organization to be part of, not with someone like Balnazar pulling the strings behind the scenes. Heroes above the Alliance and the Horde, they're asked to help Tyrion out, to remind Talon of what it is to be noble and honorable. A questline that I absolutely adored redoing in Classic, and many others did it as well, considering the amazing rewards that the quest gives. To pull on his heartstrings and to make Talon remember, we need to collect a few things. Talon's hammer, a toy that was given to him by Tyrion on his birthday. It's a miniature warhammer, an exact replica of the one that Tyrion wields. Karandra had told their son that Tyrion had died, taking him to a false grave at the Undercroft, where Talon decided to bury the hammer, along with his memory forever. A symbol of lost honor, left behind in Northvale, where Talon had thrown the standard of the Order and renounced all that he had known. The boy, he had held out for as long as he could. But with Uther the Lightbringer decimated, and uncertainty about whether or not the Order still lived, his honor was left here upon the blood-soaked ground of Northdale, and we retrieve it. And then finally, of love and family. This is a painting, a moment in time in which Tyrion felt a bond of love and family that he would never know again. A visit to Sir Darrow, where an artist painted his family. A painting that we must retrieve. And then, with an illusion hiding us from the eyes of the other Scarlets, we deliver the mementos to Talon. For so long, he has been a puppet of the Grand Crusader. But no more. It has been decades, yet the memories of his father, those precious memories, they were what have kept him alive. I have dreamed, stranger. In these dreams, my father is with me. He stands proudly at my side as I am inducted into the Order. We battle Legion of Scourge side by side. We bring honor to the Alliance, to Lordaeron. I want not to dream anymore. Take me to him. And we really try, but leaving the Scarlet Crusade isn't that easy. Despite his beautiful dreams, there's Grand Inquisitor Ysilian that's waiting for him, and he slays the child of Tyrion. Just moments before his father would have reached him. Could finally hold his boy in his arms again. Retribution is swiftly passed down upon these vile Scarlets. Look what they have done to my boy. Too long have I sat idle, gripped in this haze, this malice, lamenting on what could have been, what should have been. Your death will not have been in vain, Talon. A new order is born on this day. An order which will dedicate itself to extinguishing the evil that plagues this world. An evil that cannot hide behind politics and pleasantries. This I promise. This I vow. And we all know how serious Tyrion takes his vows, how much his honor means to him. He takes his place as High Lord of the new Order of the Silver Hand. Meanwhile, in Northrend, our old friend the Lich King, he is woken up, and the one that has caused so much damage to the lands of Lordaeron, he makes his return. The Lich King sets his eyes on Light's Hope Chapel, despite knowing full well that this is Holy Land. No matter, he is willing to sacrifice any of his forces, any of his Death Knights, to draw out the vaunted Tyrion Fordring, ending the threat before he could take a prominent role in defending Azeroth from the new war against the Scourge. And here we see the return of Darion Mokraine. In a cruel twist of fate, he is now used to attack the chapel that he had given his life to defend.
Stand down, Death Knights! We have lost.
Have you learned nothing, boy? You have become all that your father fought against. Like that coward Arthas, you allowed yourself to be consumed by the darkness, feeding upon the misery of those you tortured and killed. Your master knows what lies beneath the chapel. It is why he dares not show his face. He sent you and your Death Knights to meet their doom, Darion.
Save your breath, old man. It might be the last you ever draw.
My son!
Father!
My dear, beautiful boy.
What?
Father, you have returned. You've been gone a long time, Father. I thought...
Nothing could have kept me away from here, Darion. Not from my home and family.
Father, I wish to join you in the war against the undead. I want to fight. I can sit idle no longer.
My son, there will come a day when you will command the Ashbringer, and with it, mete out justice across this land. You will bring pride to our people, and Lordaeron will be a better place because of you. But, my son, that day is not today. Do not forget.
Touching. He's mine now.
You betrayed me. You betrayed us all, monster! Face the might of Mograine!
Pathetic.
You're a damned monster, Arthas.
You were right, Fordring. I did send them in to die. Their lives are meaningless. But yours... Apocalypse!
That day is not today. Tyrion!
Arthas!
What is this?
Your end.
Impossible. This is not over. When next we meet, it won't be on holy ground, Paladin.
Rise, Darian, and listen. We have all been witness to a terrible tragedy. The blood of good men has been shed upon this soil. Honorable knights, slain defending their lives. And while such things can never be forgotten, we must remain vigilant in our cause. The Lich King must answer for what he has done, and must not be allowed to cause further destruction in our world. On this day, I call for a union. The Argent Dawn and the Order of the Silver Hand will come together as one. We will succeed where so many before us have failed. We will take the fight to Arthas, and we will tear down the walls of Icecrown. The Argent Crusade comes for you, Arthas!
And so did the Knights of the Ebonblade, as they stepped away from the Lich King and rejoined either the Alliance or the Horde with a letter of introduction provided by Tyrion. As you can imagine, having Death Knight stroll into your capital, it's a bit of a shock to the people. But Tyrion's words, they still carry weight. He even adds a little personal side note for the one on the Horde side, which says, "Give Eitric my regards, and please inform him that I could use a good orc by my side in Northrend. With your permission, of course." So, our journey went to the cold heart of Northrend. Tyrion and the now purified Ashbringer on our side. They actually nearly lost this powerful artifact, thinking that it would be better to have it travel without the wielder, as it would make Tyrion too much of a target. Not to worry though, that our adventurers here to save the day and reunite them. Then, in Icecrown, we have High Lord Tyrion Fordring, who leads the assault into the Scourge's main territory, slowly but surely claiming more ground for the Warriors of the Light. As we follow the questline, we encounter a young child named Matthias Lehner, who shows us what the Lich King has done with his time, how he battled with Illidan, how he resurrected the mighty blue dragon Sindragosa, and a whole brood of blue dragons. He explains that after his battle with Illidan, Arthas realized what was holding him back. He was still human. He could still feel. He could still bleed. He still had a heart. So the first thing that he did when he became king was carve out his heart and toss it down a pit. Adventurers have accidentally touched the heart without realizing what it was. And Arthas surely won't leave it unguarded again. We bring this information back to Tyrion, who was already informed by his scouts that the Cult of the Damned, they were burying an artifact, taking it to the Cathedral of Darkness. He now realizes that this might be Arthas' own heart, a thing containing the last bit of his humanity. As long as such an artifact exists, there's a chance that Arthas Menethil can become a man again. Disguised as cultist, we enter the cathedral, but the Lich King is not easily fooled. He immediately recognizes us for Hello everyone. It's been 5 years already since I did the complete story of Warcraft, and quite a lot has changed since then. The Warcraft Chronicles have cleaned up and revealed some of the mysteries in the lore. There's been Warlords of Draenor, Legion, and now Battle for Azeroth that have been added to the expansion list. Couple of books, audio dramas, short stories, and beautiful YouTube videos in between. All in all, enough change to sit down and honor your many requests of getting an updated version. Give me 40 minutes, and you will know the global story of the Warcraft universe. Now say that you do want more details on specific characters or events, then by all means check out the full chronological playlist linked in the description down below. Or of course, you could also decide to subscribe to the channel, where we cover a new subject every single Monday. With that introduction out of the way, I invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the full story of Warcraft. In the beginning, before even the cosmos took shape, there was light, and then there was void. The tensions between these two opposing, yet inseparable energies, it eventually ignited a series of catastrophic explosions, birthing a whole new realm into existence. In that moment, where the light and void crashed with each other, the physical universe was born. Conflict between light and darkness. That is what created the Warcraft universe. Not surprising that we call it Warcraft, the stage for every story that we know of, and every story that's still to come. So out of this clash, the universe came to be. The energies raging across the cosmos, bringing life to worlds without number. The universe expanded. Different kinds of cosmic forces came to be. All kinds of different life and beings popped up. Amongst these beings were the colossal titans. Their spirits, known as world souls, they formed deep within the fiery core of a small number of worlds. Eventually they woke up, formed a pantheon, and they set out to wake up more of their kind, scouring the great dark beyond in search of them. While doing so, they brought order to the planets that they encountered. But not all force in the universe, they were down with that order lifestyle. From the moment that the light and void clashed with each other, dark spirits within the void, known as the Void Lords, they sought to twist reality into a realm of eternal torment. For a long time, they watched the Titans go about their business, and they were envious of their power. They wanted to corrupt one of these world-shaping Titans into an instrument of their will. At first, they tried to corrupt one of these fully grown Titans, but they quickly discovered that that was not an option. So instead, they set their mind on the more vulnerable ones. Those Titans still slumbering. Of course, like the Titans themselves, the Void Lords, they had no idea which planets actually contained one of these spirits. So they decided to just pool their powers together and send out creatures, known as Old Gods, to infect and corrupt as many of the worlds as they could. A shot in the dark, hoping that at least a few of the minions would land on a planet which contained one of these spirits. As luck would have it, some did indeed hit their mark. In the meantime, the Pantheon, they were aware of the Void energies, but they had no idea of the Void Lords or the Old Gods. Their attention was consumed by another dark force, born from a realm called the Twisting Nether. Demons, we call them, beings enslaved to unbridled hate and malice. They hungered for nothing less than the destruction of all life in the universe. Not exactly a lifestyle that the Titans are down with. So as the demons caught their attention, the Pantheon decided to send out their mightiest warrior, the noble Sargeras, to deal with them. For ages, he traveled to the worlds under attack, battling the demons. Yet in time, he started to notice something quite strange. He encountered demons that he had battled and vanquished before. Turns out that the demons can only truly die in their own realm, within the Twisting Nether. Something that Sargeras did not fully realize. All he understood was that the demons, they did not stay dead. So instead, he decided to imprison them within a pocket dimension. Their prison would soon enough overflow with demons, which brought peace to the cosmos. Now attacks from the demons, they would remain a constant threat to the great dark beyond, but they became increasingly rare. The Titans' world, they prospered, and life in all of its complexity flourished, until Sargeras found out just how dark the great dark could be. On his journey, he discovered a world infected by the Old Gods. And not just any old world, this was one with a slumbering Titan inside. The demons that were chilling on the planet, basking in the void energies. They were interrogated by Sargeras until they revealed what they had learned about the Old Gods and the ultimate, terrifying plan of the Void Lords. If the powers of the Void were indeed successful in corrupting a slumbering Titan, it would awaken as an unspeakably dark creature. No power in creation, not even the Pantheon, could stand against it. In time, the warped Titan would consume all matter and energy in the universe, bring every mode of existence under the Void Lord's will. In that moment, Sargeras, the undefeated champion of the Titans, knew fear for the first time. Knowing what the Void Lords were after, with sorrow in his heart, he decided that this slumbering Titan could never be allowed to wake up. His mighty blade split the world in two. The explosion, it did consume the old gods and their dark energies, but it also killed the nascent Titan. When Sargeras met up with the rest of the Pantheon again, he told them of what he had learned, what he had done to stop it, and the Pantheon, they weren't too thrilled with his actions. There were already so few of them in the vast universe. They couldn't believe that Sargeras had killed one of their kind. Who knows what they could have done to save it, to cleanse it from its corruption. Purging it was not the only choice that they had had, and an heated argument followed. In the end, Sargeras remained unconvinced, and he believed that only by burning away all of creation could the Titans stand a chance of stopping the Void Lord's ultimate goal. In Sargeras' mind, even in a lifeless universe, it was better than one dominated by the Void. Life had taken root in the cosmos once before. Perhaps after scouting it of its corruption, life would take root once again. The Pantheon would never see it his way, and Sargeras stormed off to follow his own plans. The prison that he had worked so hard to fill, it was shattered, and the demons were recruited into his army. It was time to lead a crusade, a burning crusade with his burning legion, to burn away the corruption. While Sargeras was away to form his burning legion, the rest of the Pantheon, they kept on going with their quests. Eventually, they stumbled upon a planet which contained a Titan spirit, but was also corrupted by the old gods. We now call this planet Azeroth, and instead of destroying it, they sought to help that slumbering spirit inside by bringing order to the planet. As Sargeras demonstrated, the Titan's power, it was more than enough to destroy the old gods, but the Pantheon feared that doing it themselves, it would cause too much damage to the soul. So instead, they created an army of enormous servants from the very crust of Azeroth itself. These Titanforged, they were led by Titan Keepers in the war against the Black Empire, the empire of the old gods, known as Kafun, Yogg-Saron, Y'Shaarj, and N'Zoth. First, they battled with the enslaved elemental lords. Now slaying them, it was not really an option, as they were bound to Azeroth itself. So, they decided to follow Sargeras' example and created a pocket dimension to contain them. This elemental plane, it would house the elements safely. With the old gods' mighty lieutenants out of the way, their battle continued against the old gods' remaining forces, and eventually the dark, mighty beings themselves. The first one, Y'Shaarj, turned out to be so powerful that the Pantheon feared the old god would overwhelm their servants. Despite the better judgment, they still reached down and ripped it out of the planet. What they had feared was exactly what happened. A massive wound was left behind, and now the lifeblood of that slumbering Titan spirit, it was starting to spill out. Now they knew for certain that tearing out the old gods would destroy Azeroth itself. Instead, imprisonment was once again the better solution. Kafun, Yogg-Saron, N'Zoth, and the heart of Y'Shaarj, which had fallen back onto the planet as they had ripped it out. They were all contained within their own subterranean chambers, locked away within enchanted prisons. The war against the Black Empire, it was won by the Pantheon and their servants. And despite that darkness being locked away beneath the world, for the first time in Azeroth's history, a sense of peace settled over the planet. Now there was still quite a bit of work to do. First step was patching up the wound that was left behind by Y'Shaarj with something that they called the Well of Eternity. With that immediate threat out of the way, they worked on strengthening the nascent world soul and stabilize its life force. Titan machineries and facilities, they were built for that exact purpose, to help it grow, help it heal, help it mature into a Titan, rumored to be even more powerful than Sargeras himself. More of the Titan forts were created to help safeguard the world, keep an eye on things, shape the surface, and help that spirit grow. Now don't get me wrong, not all of the creatures in Azeroth were actually shaped by the Titan's hands. Some of them evolved over time, or were simply already there. Twilight fell as the Titanforged surveyed the world that they had shaped, and they named the primary continent Kalimdor, Land of Eternal Starlight. The Titans had done everything possible to heal the world of Azeroth and assure the world's sole future. All that remained now was to wait. Wait and hope that one day the world's soul would awaken. As Azeroth was left behind to do its thing, the Titans, they ran into Sargeras again, going about his burning crusade. They tried to convince him of another, better way. They had just done some amazing things to a corrupted world soul. Perhaps one day, this one would actually awaken and stand with them. Sargeras did not have to burn all of creation, but the Dark Titan, he heard nothing but another target for him to take out.
Hey, we're still trapped on Earth! I'm just glad everything is back to normal.
Yo, dork.
Looks like the solar opposites are going to jail.
How are we still so bad at this?
Light be with you. Light bless you. Need help?
Yeah, nigga. Southside Chronicles, nigga. Tell you a little story, nigga. Yeah. Started off smoking weed. Nowadays, my partner's really sipping lean. Percocet, heroin when we serve the fiends. Fast car, stash box when we in the beam. Shit was looking clean. Never made the dean list, serving 50 fiends. We was on the scene.
A massive battle followed by these titanic beings. A battle in which Sargeras struck down his former brothers and sister. Their spirits, they did survive, but their forms were shattered, and Sargeras then set his eyes on finding this Azeroth. At the time, he didn't know where in the great dark beyond this corrupted planet might be, but he had time and he would eventually track it down. Also, that battle with the Pantheon, it showed him that his demonic forces, they were quite powerful, but they definitely lacked in leadership. Intelligent minds to lead his forces. The Dark Lord of the Legion figured that the race of Eredar from the planet of Argus, that they would make for a fine addition to his troops. He showed up and offered them a spot amongst his ranks. Power and knowledge beyond their wildest dreams. 2 of their 3 leaders, Kil'jaeden and Archimonde, they were on board with his plan. They decided to sign up, while the 3rd leader, Velen the Prophet, he saw that this was a very bad idea. Instead of joining Sargeras, he decided to take as many of his people as he could, and he ran away. Run away with the aid of the Naru, beings of holy light. This was a move that Kil'jaeden took very personal. He felt betrayed by his co-leader, his brother in spirit, and promised that he would hunt Velen and the now called Draenei down, even if it took him 1,000 years. Now on the run, the Draenei moved from planet to planet, trying to outmaneuver the Legion. Until the moment came where they could run no more and crash landed on a world that they named Draenor. It was not an empty planet. Amongst the races was a race known as the Orcs, and the coming of the Draenei that would have a massive impact on the future of their people. In the meantime, on Azeroth, we saw life do its thing. Races, they grew and evolved, worked hard to further their empires. A race known as the Night Elves, they'd set a base near the Well of Eternity, and they were studying its properties, delving deeper into this fount of power, until their research, it drew the attention of Sargeras and the Legion. Finally, he had found this Azeroth. Now all he needed to do was find a way to reach it. Queen Azshara and her Night Elf followers, they were down with bringing Sargeras into the world, and they tried to use the well as a massive portal. Nearly they succeeded, but the resistance formed of other Night Elves who were not down with the Queen's plans. Demigods, Furbolgs, Tauren, dragons, all kinds of races that did not want to be annihilated. They rose up and prevented the Queen's plans. They were even able to reverse the portal and send the Legion back to where they came from. Now all this messing around with the Well of Eternity, it made it incredibly unstable. It imploded, which sundered the land of Kalimdor apart, and makes it look like we know it as today. Despite that massive damage and all the loss of life, the day was definitely saved. Sargeras was pushed back, but the Dark Titan's gaze had fallen upon Azeroth, and he would not rest until his mission was complete. The Legion had their first taste of Azeroth, and would come back many times in the future. And let's not forget that Kil'jaeden, he still had vengeance to claim upon the Draenei. Back on Draenor, the Draenei were found by the Legion again. Yet this time Kil'jaeden decided to not send out their full force, only to see their former kin run away. This time they decided to use the Orcs to do their dirty work. Pitch them against the Draenei, despite living together on the planet in relative peace for centuries now. Fel magic was introduced to their tribes and replaced the use of elemental magic, replaced the use of shamanism. The Orcs were manipulated, banded together and formed a horde. Corrupted, its effects not only visible to the Orcs themselves, but also the planet that they lived on. Eventually, the Pit Lord Manoroth offered them demonic blood, a great gift in the eyes of the Orcs. And while it did indeed give them incredible power, it also made them slaves to the Legion. They didn't know this, of course, and most of them decided to drink. Nearly all of the Draenei were wiped out by their might. Some of them even forced to stay behind for the slaughter to make it look like Kil'jaeden had completed his mission. Only so that a small part of the race would survive, and their plans actually worked. Kil'jaeden did believe that he'd been successful, Now, on orders of Sargeras, he decided to leave the orcs to their fates to rot away on a dying world. The Horde was a powerful force, now desperate for survival. Desperate enough to build the Dark Portal and go through it to Azeroth, a brand new world to conquer. The right weapon to weaken Azeroth's defenses in preparation for a full-scale Legion invasion. Even the orcs that had not touched the demon blood, they followed through the gateway. After all, it was their only way of survival, and the first Horde invasion of Azeroth began.
In the Age of Chaos, two factions battled for dominance. The Kingdom of Azeroth was a prosperous one. The humans who dwelt there turned the land into a paradise. The Knights of Stormwind and the clerics of Norsha Abbey roamed far and wide, serving the king's people with honor and justice. The well-trained armies of the king maintained a lasting peace for many generations. Then came the Orcish hordes. No one knew where these creatures came from, and none were prepared for the terror that they spawned.
Now just imagine this alien force popping up out of nowhere. It was quite a shock to the people, and some did not believe the initial reports about the monstrous orcs. As the Horde conquered more and more lands, their eyes were soon opened to the truth, and the Alliance of Lordaeron was formed. They fought very hard over the fate of the world, with Azeroth being victorious. Now some of the orcs, they were able to escape home through the Dark Portal, which was then shut down. Others, they ran away and survived in the wilds, while those that surrendered, they were placed within internment camps, defeated, but not vanquished. The Horde still had a dying homeworld, and they came back through the Dark Portal for a second time. It reopened, this time not to conquer the planets, instead they gathered powerful artifacts, which in turn they could use to open more portals to other worlds to conquer those instead. The Alliance of Lordaeron made the very hard decision to follow the Horde through the portal and take the battle to them, prevent them from inflicting the same suffering that they had caused to Azeroth. Again, the Horde was defeated, but not before these portals were created. Massive rifts across all of Draenor opened up, which caused the already corrupted planet to transform into Outland as we know it today. The Alliance heroes were stranded on Outland as the Dark Portal was shut down once again. Their heroic sacrifice, it gave Azeroth time to rebuild and heal, but the threats to the world are far from over.
We never paid any heed to the ancient prophecies. Like fools, we clung to the old hatreds. And fought as we had for generations.
This brings us to the Warcraft 3 time periods, in which the new scheme of the Legion, it came in the form of the Lich King. This powerful being was created and sent down by Kil'jaeden, with the goal of weakening the world, summoning more Legion forces, and accomplish that goal of claiming Azeroth. From the cold lands of Northrend, the Lich King's influence spread. Death washed over the lands of Lordaeron and beyond. Prince Arthas, he tried desperately to save his people, but in his quest, he fell to the Lich King's schemes, picked up the Cursed Blade Frostmourne, and instead became an agent of the Lich King. The very thing that he had tried to fight against. Now it was he who led this scourge, and he brought his father's lands to ruin. The high home of the High Elves was also invaded and brought low. With the use of their Sunwell, another magical fount of power, Arthas resurrected Kel'Thuzad as a Lich, as he was needed to summon Archimonde into the world. This act, it did corrupt the well, something that the High Elves had become very dependent on. Their prince, Kil'Thuzad Sunstrider, announced to their survivors that they would now be known as the Blood Elves, in honor of those whose blood had been spilled, trying to defend their lands against Arthas. This didn't compensate for the loss of their well, but their prince, he would do everything it took to find some way to save his people. Now Archimonde, he was there 10,000 years ago, and he clearly remembered the Legi's defeat at the hands of the Night Elves, so he decides that that would be their first target to take care of the massive threats. In the meantime, we saw something quite extraordinary happen. In the internment camps, there was Thrall, an Orcish child raised as a slave gladiator, who rose up and set his people free. He reformed the Hordes, not with the intention of conquering Azeroth again. He wanted to guide them back to the more honorable ways of old. Find a place on the planet that they could call their own, a planet that now needed defense against Archimonde and the Legion. Under the guidance of Medivh, Thrall continued his journey and eventually met up with Sen'jin, leader of the Darkspear Trolls, who was sadly sacrificed by Murlocs. His son Vol'jin would take over leadership and join the Horde. The same goes for the Bloodhoof Tauren, led by their chieftain Cairn Bloodhoof. The Horde's family was growing with more and more races, but Medivh had not only reached out to them, he also approached Jaina Proudmoore. She in turn took the survivors of Lordaeron, those that had survived the onslaught of the Scourge, and eventually met up with Thrall and the Horde. It was an insane idea to begin with, to have the Alliance and Horde work together, considering the past that they shared. But these leaders, they were wise enough to put away old hatreds for the sake of the world. And of course, the orcs are no strangers to the threats that the demons pose. The demonic blood curse, it had pretty much doomed their race, the blood of Manoroth, which was offered as a gift. Gromar's Hellscream was the first amongst the orcs to drink, and it would be he to strike down the blow that fell Manoroth now, liberating his people while sacrificing his life in the process.
I have freed myself. No, old friend. You freed us all.
Together with the Night Elves, they stood against the might of the Legion and banished Archimonde off the planet. The day had indeed been saved, but the Legion had come very close, and victory did not come without sacrifice. Yet all the same, Jaina and Thrall, human and orcs, Alliance and Hordes, they had shown that by working together, they could accomplish some of the amazing things. In an attempt to be an example to the world to keep this peace going, Thrall decided to settle within Orgrimmar, while Jaina, she took her people to an area close by, to Fettermore Keep. They would continue to work hard to show the world that together they stood stronger, despite some being unable to let go of those old hatreds. Yet despite Archimonde and the Legion's defeat, the Lich King, he was still on the planet, actively working against his Legion masters. He was no willing puppet, quite the opposite. Something that Kil'jaeden took notice of, and he decided to recruit Illidan the Stormrage, who's a Night Elf demon hunter, labeled a betrayer by his people for his actions during the War of the Ancients. They had decided to set him free from his cage after being imprisoned for 10,000 years, as he would be a powerful weapon against this new Legion attack. Again, they disapproved of his methods, and they banished him from their lands. Now Kil'jaeden offered Illidan whatever he wanted, in exchange for his aid of disposing the Lich King. Now Illidan, he was no friend to the Legion either, but he knew full well that truly taking care of them, it could not be done on Azeroth. They would have to take the battle to them. So for now, he pretended to go along with Kil'jaeden's plans, keep his enemy close, so to say, and work hard to take care of the Lich King. For this mission, he recruited Lady Vash and the Naga into his ranks. They are former elves that were there when Azshara led them in a disastrous mission of bringing Sargeras into the world. They nearly drowned for their efforts as the well imploded, but thankfully for them, an allegiance with the old god N'Zoth, it saved their lives and transformed them into the Naga. There was also Kil'jaeden's Sunstrider that joined the ranks, the leader of the Blood Elves, formerly known as the High Elves, who were hit hard by Arthas and the Scourge. He was still on the quest to find a way of salvation for his addicted people, and his hope of solving their plight, it now lay with Illidan Stormrage. Together, they did their very best, but Arthas the Death Knight, he still bested them and claimed his prize of merging with the Lich King, while Illidan, he was forced to hide away in Outlands and work on some new plans to stop the Legion.
4 years have passed since the mortal races banded together and stood united against the might of the Burning Legion. Though Azeroth was saved, the tenuous pact between the Horde and the Alliance has all but evaporated. The drums of war thunder once again.
Warcraft 3 sets the stage for classic World of Warcraft. As the intro, it describes old hatreds rising up again, despite previously standing together against the might of the Burning Legion. For the Horde, we see it made up of the Orcs led by Thrall, the Tauren led by Cairn, the Trolls led by Vol'jin, and as the fourth race, it's the Forsaken led by Sylvanas Windrunner. These are the citizens of Lordaeron that fell to the plague and rose up as living undead. They were known as the Scourge. In time, they were able to liberate themselves and regain control. Now they're hellbent on claiming vengeance for what Arthas has done to them. They joined the Horde in an alliance of convenience. Then, for the alliance, we don't see the humans of Fettermore be part of the faction. Instead, it's the humans of Stormwind, led by King Anduin Wrynn, as his father Varian at the time is missing. Next to the humans, we also see the Dwarves of Ironforge, led by King Magni Bronzebeard, the Gnomes of Gnomeregan, led by Gelwin Makatork, and the Night Elves, led by Tyrande Whisperwind. While the Alliance and Horde went at each other again, they also quickly realized that there were still big threats that need to be taken care of. Threats bigger than either one of the factions. For example, we saw Ragnaros the Firelord stirring within his lair in the Molten Core. While previously banished to his elemental plane of fire, the Dark Island Dwarves, they were foolish enough to accidentally accidentally summoned him during their civil war, and he's been a threat ever since. There was also Nefarian, the Black Dragon and child of Deathwing the Destroyer, that has taken up residence in the top of the mountain. His sister Onyxia, she's the one responsible for Varian's disappearance, and has now infiltrated Stormwind under the disguise of Lady Katjana Prestor. She must be exposed and dealt with in her lair. There's Hakar the Soul Flayer, blood god of the Gurubashi trolls. The old god Kafun, imprisoned by the Titans, he now stirs behind the scarab wall within Ankh-Kiraj. And then Kel'Thuzad and the floating citadel of Naxxramas. A taste of the Lich King's powers that still threaten to consume the world. All kinds of conflicts that are threatening to devour the planet. But by working together, the world of Azeroth holds its own.
Imprisoned for
This video is brought to you in collaboration with wowhead.com. Hello everyone.
4 years have passed since the mortal races banded together and stood united against the might of the Burning Legion. Though Azeroth was saved, the tenuous pact between the Horde and the Alliance has all but evaporated. The drums of war thunder once again.
That introduction is where it all began, the story of classic World of Warcraft. Now with beta up and running, what better time than to sit down and talk about some of the major storylines that played out within the game. The 4 years that she's talking about, that is when we saw the events of Warcraft 3 play out. And anyone that would like to prepare themselves for classic World of Warcraft, I'd highly recommend to have played Warcraft 3 at least once. The game is a little bit old by now, but it definitely stood the test of time and it's still amazing to play through. Now in the RTS, we saw the Guardian Medivh give Warchief Thrall a vision. Bring your people to the ancient lands of Kalimdor. They're needed to help protect the world against the Burning Legion. Thrall's horde was different from the one infused with demon blood that stepped through the dark portal to conquer the world, was then defeated by the Alliance of Lordaeron at Blackrock Mountain, and those that surrendered, they were placed within internment camps. Some of the orcs managed to flee through the portal back home. Some took up residence in their base within Blackrock Mountain. Others had already left the horde behind. All much better fates than to stay within the internment camps. These were not exactly the best place in the world to find yourself in. There were guards pissing on you, they were mistreating the prisoners, the demon blood was still lingering in their veins. Some might say that death would have been a kind option compared to living in these camps. Thrall was still a baby when the original horde was defeated. With his parents murdered, the babe was left to die in the wilds, but that would not be his fate. A Dalish Blackmore saved him, a man who ran one of these internment camps, but he did not do so out of the kindness of his heart. He actually planned to use Thrall, to raise him as a slave gladiator, teach him to read tactics, the way of war, and when the time was right, have him lead the other orcs in another war against the world. This one, with Adalys, leading the charge against his own people. The son of Durotan and Draka learned the cruelty of man while growing up. But thankfully, also the kindness and compassion that the humans possessed from people like Tarifa Fox. She was his childhood friend, showed him kindness, even helped him escape at the cost of her own life. Thrall would leave the camp behind and meet up with pockets of orcs still living on the planet. Gromac Hellscream with his Warsong clan, Drekvar and the remnants of the Frostwolf clan, the clan of his parents. Even Orkan Doomhammer, Warchief of the Horde when they were defeated but had escaped captivity from the Alliance. He was impressed and inspired by young Thrall. Together, they rose up to bring freedom to their people. While fighting, Doomhammer lost his life, and he decided to pass on his armor, his title of Warchief, and legendary Doomhammer to Thrall. That was the beginning of this brand new horde.
For the Horde!
En route to answer Medivh's call, for all stolen ships, they ended up in a sudden fierce storm, and they had no choice but to seek shelter on land. On the island, they met Senjin, leader of the Darkspear Trolls, who saw their coming in a vision. His people at the time are dealing with humans that are quite hostile to them, establishing outposts on the island, but it would not be the humans to take Senjin's life. That was actually done by the Murlocs, worshipping a sea witch, a Naga, as we later find out. Senjin was sacrificed for her glory. His son Vol'jin would then take over leadership, and the Darkspear Trolls, they decided to come along with Thrall. They escaped from the sinking islands, and they joined the Horde. When all of this took place, Vol'jin was actually on a quest to become the Shadow Hunter that we know him as, together with his bestest buddy Zelazane. He wasn't there when his father died, and while a big portion of the trolls followed Thrall on his journey, Vol'jin and some of his tribe, they weathered the Sea Witch's anger. They did so to gather all the supplies that they could, take it with them, and join their brethren around a year later in the new orc nation of Durotar. But the friendship between Vol'jin and Zelazane was not meant to last. Zelazane had gone mad with power and betrayed their tribe. With the use of Dark Voodoo, he robbed most of the Darkspear Trolls of their free will, forcing them to obey him. Vol'jin feared that all of his people would eventually fall to Zelazane's sorcery, so he ordered the tribe to abandon the Echo Isles completely and move to the fishing village called Senjin on the coast of Durotar. Heroes are going to be sent out to strike at Zelazane and his forces to win back the trolls' first home on Kalimdor.
Stay away from the voodoo.
Now, not all the trolls that you're going to encounter during Classic will be this friendly. The Sand Fury trolls in Zul'Farrak, they hold powerful treasures, and legends tell of a mighty creature that they worship, a teacher called Gazrilla. More powerful and more deadly, that would be the Loa Hakar the Soulflayer. This is an ancient, terrible being that the trolls are trying to summon within Zul'Farrak. This is not the first time that they tried this either. But back then, the green dragon aspect is Sarah. She put a stop to their plans, sinking their temple of Atal Hakar. This time, it's going to be up to heroes of the world to stop the rise of the Blood God, to stop this threat before it can spread any further. We're even going to see some friendly Zandalari trolls that are going to show up to help out. Now back to Warcraft 3. After finally arriving in Kalimdor, Thrall had to spend some time tracking down the rest of his forces, as the storm had separated them. By doing so, he ran into Cairn Bloodhoof, leader of the Bloodhoof Tauren, in the middle of their own war against their ancient enemy, the Centaur. These creatures are born from the union between Princess Feridras and Zetar, the son of Cenarius. You actually run into this beautiful being as you adventure into Moradin. Now Thrall, he would not ignore the injustice that he was witnessing. His horde stood as a beacon of hope for races, just like the Tauren. The misunderstood, the oppressed and the forgotten, and his horde would fight to protect those in need. Together, they bring the pain to the Centaur. The defeat, it shocks the creatures and sends them limping out of the barrens in disgrace. Never again would they see the Tauren as easy prey, and the Tauren saw the promise of a new future. At last, they have broken this cycle of conflict. The Tauren's nomadic existence was over. While Cairn helped Thrall with reaching Medivh, some of his people, they ventured west into a grassy plain known as Mulgore. There it was, where they would finally settle and build a permanent home of Thunder Bluff. Thrall and Cairn's adventures together would forge a near unbreakable bond, and so the Tauren also decided to join the Horde. That leaves only one more race that's going to join the Horde to be explained, the Forsaken. But to do that, we'll have to backtrack a little bit and explain how the Burning Legion was planned to come into the world. Like I mentioned before, the Alliance of Lordaeron had defeated the first Horde invasion. This was an alliance of the major human kingdoms, the High Elves of Quel'Thalas, dwarves and gnomes banded together for the sake of Azeroth. The Horde would then come back for a second invasion, to which some of the greatest heroes stepped through the Dark Portal to take the battle to the Horde. These heroes were forced to close the portal on the other side, would not be seen until the next expansion, meaning that the Alliance had lost quite a bit of firepower. Not to mention that at times of peace, it had started to fracture the Alliance quite a bit from within. On top of that, the Legion also sent over one of its most powerful creations, the Lich King, to get their invasion started. With the aid of Kel'Thuzad and the Cult of the Damned, they worked and planned to spread a plague across the lands of Lordaeron that did not just murder its population, it also brought them back as undead. Within Scholomance, School of Necromancy, they expanded their power and influence, made ready to cleanse the world. These actions did not go unnoticed, of course. The king, he sent out his own son Arthas to investigate, accompanied by Miss Jaina Proudmoore of the Kirin Tor. They eventually found out what was going on. At Strefholm, Arthas made an impossible decision. He was going to purge it, stop the undead before they could spread any further. A decision that would have everlasting effects on the city. A decision that Jaina couldn't believe. This was a road that she couldn't follow her beloved prince on. She left him, which placed them on completely different roads in life. Arthas would eventually make his way to Northrend, pick up Frostmourne and become an agent of the Lich King, while Jaina, she would be guided by Medivh, take the survivors of Lordaeron to Kalimdor to eventually stand with Thrall against the Legion. She did just that, while Arthas and the Scourge left a path of death and destruction in their wake, en route to Quel'Thalas. The elves did their very best to protect their lands. Many brave souls laid down their lives and were brought back to aid the army of undeath. Their ranger general, Sylvanas Windrunner, did everything she could to hold the line, to slow down this inevitable march, but ultimately, she too fell to Arthas and Frostmourne. The peaceful bliss of death was denied to her. She had been such a pain to fight that Arthas decided to bring her back as a Banshee, now forced to obey his every command. Obey him as the high home of the High Elves fell, and their Sunwell was used to resurrect Kel'Thuzad as a Lich. He in turn summoned Archimonde into the world, who set his eyes on the World Tree Nordersil and his ancient enemy, the Night Elves. They had fought back a Legion invasion before, over 10,000 years ago, something that Archimonde still clearly remembered. But for Arthas, he eventually lost a huge chunk of his power, given to him by the Lich King. Enough so for Sylvanas and others amongst his undead creations to regain control, rise up against the former master. These forsaken, they rallied to Sylvanas' side. She did her best to claim revenge, but Kel'Thuzad, he remained ever loyal to Arthas and saved the prince's life, so that he could travel back to Northrend and eventually merge with the Lich King. His kingdom was left in the hands of his faithful Lich, but Sylvanas had other plans in mind. She wanted her revenge against Arthas, and first up was the dominance of the land left destroyed by the prince. But that was not that easy to do. The Dreadlords, demons of the Legion, they were meant to keep an eye on these undead operations. They were still hanging out in the land, and they were not just going to hand it over. Varimafras was the first to fall, begging for his life. Sylvanas was willing to give him a chance to fight at her side and prove his worth. With his aid, she focused on Deathrock, who had mind-controlled the local humans under the command of Garithos. Their minds were liberated, Deathrock fell, and Garithos' forces were added to hers. She promised him to give them the lands back if he helped her out, a promise that she never intended to fulfill. Belnazar, the last Dreadlord, was slain by Varimafras himself as a final test of his loyalty, while, with their mission complete, Garithos became a snack for her ghouls. Not a man that would be quickly missed. Now taking the lands and holding them, they are two different things. The Scarlet Crusade, with their monastery, that's an organization hell-bent on eradicating the undead. They've also been infiltrated by Dreadlords and became so zealous in their quest that they could no longer see the difference between the living and the undead. There's also Kel'Thuzad to consider. Humans and other forces that are not too friendly towards what they see as the Scourge. They are in desperate need of the allies, and it's the Horde that lets them in. Now back over at Thrall. He eventually finds Medivh, who tells the War Chief as well as Jaina that they need to work together for the sake of the world. Quite a bizarre idea at the time, the Alliance and Horde working together, considering the past between the two, but they are very wise leaders and decide to put the past behind them. This leads to some amazing events, like Gromar's Hellscream sacrificing himself to slay Manoroth, liberating his people from the demonic curse. Their group also makes contact with Malfurion Stormrage and Tyrande Whisperwind. They're the leaders of the Night Elves and well aware of Archimonde being back on the planet. They team up with the plan of blowing up the World Tree Nordersil and Archimonde with it. This would mean that the Night Elves are going to lose their immortality, but that's a small price to pay if it means the salvation of the world. Malfurion gathers the ancient spirits of the forest, while their forces hold off Archimonde for as long as they can. By working together, they're able to do the unthinkable. They actually defeat Archimonde. Medivh's plans have worked out just as he had hoped. His time on the world was over, but Jaina and Thrall, they decided to do their best to keep this peace going. She took the remaining survivors of Lordaeron, and they settled within Faramir. While Thrall, he also decided to stay in Kalimdor, in a land called Durotar, named after his father. Their capital of Orgrimmar, named after Orgrim Doomhammer. That will be the Horde's bastion of power in the region. Now this had Thrall and Jaina trying to make the Alliance and Horde see that amazing things are possible when they're working together. Not everyone is able to let go of the past like that though. Forces from both within and without, they keep those drums of war going.
The drums of war, thunder, once again.
So what might the Alliance look like? Well, considering the events that took place in Lordaeron, the High Elves and the humans from that area, they're off the table. Instead, we see their sister kingdom, Stormwind, adding their humans to the ranks. Quite a lot of people were surprised to hear that it's King Anduin ruling them, believing that people are mixing it up with the current lore, but even back then, it's young Anduin Rin that was the King of Stormwind. The story behind that has to do with Deathwing and his child Onyxia. Disguised as Lady Katrana Prestor, she has her black dragon claws deep into the House of Nobles. She was able to convince them not to pay the stonemasons what was promised after the work of rebuilding Stormwind, which led to riots in the streets, the death of Varian's wife Tiffin, and the rise of the Defiance Brotherhood. Led by Edwin Van Cleef, they took up residence within the Dead Mines, planning their revenge. But they were also recruited by Katrana to kidnap Varian. Her goal was to gain control over the human kingdom, and she planned to split Varian into two. One was going to be the weak-willed Varian, which she could easily keep on the throne, easily manipulated. And then the strong-willed Varian, his stronger side, that would simply be killed off. Sadly for her, those plans didn't exactly work out. The strong-willed Varian, he was able to escape, but all of that actually happens off-screen, and you don't really see it play out in the game. Instead, we eventually figure out who Katrana really is. We expose her for all to see, and send her running back to her lair, where heroes gathered to slay the dragon and bring her head back to Stormwind as proof of demise. Story-wise, she actually kidnapped Anduin and took him back to her lair, but was then slain by the two Varians and a group of heroes. In their confrontation, she was even kind enough to turn Varian back into one single being, but during Classic, it was actually Anduin ruling the city, with Katrana and Bolvar Fordragon at his side. The legendary paladin, appointed as Regent Lord to handle the day-to-day duties of administrating the kingdom until the child was a little bit older.
You hold a grim destiny in your hands, brother, but it is not your own.
Bolvar!
Yep, it's that Bolvar. Joining them are the Night Elves, which might seem a little bit odd, considering that they did team up with the Horde against the Legion. But at the same time, the Horde also killed the demigod Cenarius, who is Malfurion's teacher in the Druidic ways, and they also chopped down a fair bit of the sacred forest for lumber. The lands of Durotar and the Barrens, they're not exactly rich with resources, which is a battle that we can see play out within Warsong Gulch. There's also the battleground Rafi Basin and Alterac Valley, both of them showing the Alliance and Horde clashing with each other.
My heart sleeps in the Emerald Dream.
After blowing up Nordrassil, the Night Elves now live on a brand new world tree called Teldrassil. This one does not have the same blessings as Nordrassil did, so the Night Elves, they still have to deal with no longer being immortal. The tree was actually planted by Vandal Stackhelm against Malfurion's wishes. The Archdruid believed that nature would never bless such a selfish act. And he was right. But even more dangerous is the part where Fandral, he's been corrupted, is being manipulated by the old gods. Ages ago, Fandral lost his son in the War of the Shifting Sands, which was a massive battle to contain the threat of the old god Cthulhu. Through many sacrifices, they were eventually able to set up the Scarab Wall and keep Cthulhu contained. But now the image of his dead son is manipulating Stackhelm. Cthulhu and his forces are still a massive threat to the world though. So much so that the Alliance and Horde, they're going to pool their swords together and do the impossible. Stack up on nature resistance gear, venture into Ankiraj, and they're going to defeat Cthulhu. The old gods, these dark and powerful entities, they're locked beneath the surface of the world, desperately wanted to break out of their prisons. Teldrassil has been corrupted through the effects of the Emerald Nightmare. But this is not the only old god influence that we're going to see throughout Classic. Nearby, in Black Fathom Deeps, the Naga are protecting and making sacrifices to Akumai, which is a creature that holds a sliver of the old god's power, but is still incredibly dangerous. There will be world bosses, known as the Dragons of Nightmare, green dragons taken by the dream's corruption, that will occasionally wreak havoc on the mortal world. The ogres in Diremal, they also feel the nightmare's effects, and the dangers of the Wailing Caverns. They are caused by a druid stuck within the nightmare. All in all, you might want to pay close attention to the quest that you do for Stackhelm, as he does not believe that Tyrande is the right ruler.
I have vision that she lacks.
Then, the gnomes of Gnomeregan, they remain loyal to the Alliance. Their brilliance has sprung some remarkable inventions, and also established the Deep-Run Tram, fast transport between Stormwind and Ironforge. Sadly, they don't really have a capital to offer, since in the war against the Trogs, their appointed leader, Gelbe Mekatork, he made some horrible decisions. He listened to Sicko Firmaplug, a gnome he'd been friends with for a very long time. Sicko had the idea of using gas to wipe out the Trogs. The gas should have stayed in the quarantined areas and the lower sections of Gnomeregan, poisoning the invaders as they emerged from the depths, while the gnomes, they waited safely sealed away within the upper urban tunnels. At the time, this had seemed like the only way out of their unforeseen invasion. Firmaplug had seemed so confident that this stuff would do the trick. Sadly though, most of the Trogs had just shambled through the gas, if anything, growing wilder as they became irradiated. Even worse, the gas had risen through Nomedagon, killing the gnomes who had sat waiting in their homes, choking on vile green clouds behind doors that the High Tinker had promised to keep them safe. 80% of their population, they died that day. Even Sicko was surprised. His calculations, it had estimated around 30% of a population. That's how far he was willing to go to make Gelbin look bad. Sicko escaped his punishment and now rules over Nomedagon, driven mad by the radiation. Meanwhile, the dwarves of Idaforge, they were kind enough to give the gnomes a place in the city, but the gnomes, they could see the pity in their eyes. That was the hardest part. For a race of ambitious folks whose lives were validated by a masterful command of the scientific laws of the universe, to be pitied was simply unbearable. To be pitied was to be insulted. Gelbin knew, for the sake of his people, they would have to retake their former city, retake the beloved Nomedagon, and retake their gnomish pride.
Hello there! Welcome to Tinkertown. Any news from Nomragan?
Speaking of the dwarves, they're the final option of races amongst the Alliance. Once upon a time, all the three dwarven clans, Dark Irons, Wildhammer and Bronzebeard, they lived together within Idaforge under the rule of Modemus and Vomar. Their king died and a civil war broke out, one that was won by the Bronzebeard clan, which meant that the Dark Iron and the Wildhammer, they had to go. The Wildhammers eventually settled in Grimbetal, doing pretty good for themselves and letting things be. Whereas the Dark Irons, they built a city in Red Ridge Mountains, or at least that was what was known like back in the day. They couldn't let it go though. They were still fuming at their defeat, and they gathered their forces to retaliate. Both the Wildhammer and the Bronzebeard were able to repel the attacks and combine their forces to stop the Dark Irons once and for all. Emperor Fauruzan, leader of the Dark Irons, he scrambled to find a way to defeat his enemies. He decided to draw on the fiery power from deep within the world and use it as a weapon. A great spell was woven, but while conjuring, his mind turned to the death of his wife and his recent defeats. Anger roiled through his heart, affecting the spell work. Unwittingly, he ripped Ragnaros the Fire Lord from his elemental plane of fire, summoning him to the surface of the world. The Fire Lord's violent rebirth sparked a series of apocalyptic explosions that instantly killed Fauruzan and shattered the surrounding mountains. The raging volcano, known as Blackrock Mountain, now towered over the ruined Dark Iron Kingdom. The land was renamed to the Burning Steppes and the Syrian Gorge. Fauruzan's subjects that managed to survive his spell were gone wrong. They were enslaved to Ragnaros. From his lair in the Molten Core, the Fire Lord gave his orders and had them carve out a new fortress under the mountain, which was called Shadowforge City. Within their fiery home, they would continue nursing the hatred of the Wildhammers and the Bronzebeards. Now the battle at Grimbetal, it had done so much damage that the Wildhammers, they decided to move on. They settled in the hinterlands, but the war against the Dark Irons, it had smoothed things over between them and the Bronzebeards. We would actually see the Wildhammers fight with the Alliance of Lordaeron against the Horde, but they're not available in Classic quite yet. All we get are the Bronzebeard clan, who were led by Magni Bronzebeard. They are very keen on figuring out their heritage, where they came from, how they were created. Part of their quest for knowledge that will take us into Uldaman, an ancient Titan vault. The king of Idaforge also needs the aid of heroes to go and rescue his daughter Moira. She's been captured by the Dark Irons and taken to their city. Much to the surprise of the Alliance infiltrators, Moira was actually furious at their actions, this so-called rescue mission. Over time, she had fallen in love with the leader of the Dark Irons, as, unlike her father, he actually showed her respect, kindness, did not think less of her simply because she was born as a woman. Pregnant with Fauruzan's child, she decides to not return home, instead carry on his work, put aside her anger and lead the Dark Irons. This strike on Shadowforge City, it had left her clan in absolute chaos, and for the moment, this was an advantage, an opportunity to get them out of the enslavement. While Ragnaros' forces were distracted, she quietly let out word that the Dark Iron Dwarves were being forced to create a massive army for the Fire Lords. To draw as much attention as possible, Moira made sure that the rest of the world also knew that there were riches and artifacts to be found, untold power hidden deep within the mountain. She hoped that some adventurous or greedy heroes would band together to shatter Ragnaros' defenses and banish the Fire Lord back to the elemental plane. Her plan worked better than even she could have dreamed. The Hydraxian Waterlords, elemental beings of water who were natural enemies of the fire elementals, they also got wind of this. They offered aid and rewards to anyone foolish or brave enough to challenge Ragnaros. As the Molten Core defenders fell, the champions decked themselves out in their fire resistance gear. They used the gifts of the Waterlords to destroy Ragnaros' protective runes, leaving no barrier between them and the Fire Lords. Ragnaros' strength was legendary, but it was not enough to slaughter the invaders. In defeat, he was banished back to his elemental plane, meaning that the Dark Islands were finally free. Their leader didn't stop there though. Ragnaros only held control over the lower half of the mountain, the upper half that belonged to Nefarian, Deathwing's son and brother to Onyxia. He'd been working very hard on accomplishing his father's goals of reinvigorating the Black Dragon flight. He was experimenting and combining the power of all 5 different flights to create a powerful new one known as the Chromatic Dragon Flight. Nefarian had kept his presence shrouded, relying on unusual allies to protect his territory. Some of the orcs that survived the defeat at the hands of Lordaeron, they made base within the mountain. They were led by Dalrend's Black Hand and saw themselves as the true Horde, did not acknowledge Thrall as the war chief. With the promise of the Black Dragon's aid, a lie by Nefarian, they teamed up with the Black Dragons, enemies that Moira needed to take care of. Once again, she had her people send information to the far corners of Azeroth, telling the world that Dalrend's horde had allied with the Black Dragon flight. Her spies made sure that this knowledge found its way to Orgrimmar, and she suspected it immediately caused an uproar amongst the leadership of the horde. Thrall had known about this true horde for years, but he had never imagined that they posed any real threat. A Black Hand was foolish enough to trust the son of Deathwing, then there was little time to waste. Though he was a mighty warrior, the Horde's heroes he faced were mightier still. The self-proclaimed leader of the true Horde, he died in his stronghold. His followers then scattered, abandoning the Black Dragon flight. Nefarian turned his wrath on the Horde's intruders, but they did not flee. They cut their way through endless waves of Nefarian's twisted creations, until he too fell to their strength and persistence and beautiful Onyxia scale cloaks. A scale from his sister, imbued in the gear, protecting them from being engulfed by Shadowflame, they defeated the Lord of the Blackrock Mountain. The Horde's champions took Nefarian's head as proof of their victory and returned to Orgrimmar as conquering heroes, which left Moira and the Dark Islands to wait for the perfect opportunity to return home and reclaim Ironforge. But that, of course, is future talk. Now the last raid to talk about, that should be a familiar one. It is the floating citadel of Naxxramas. Hovering over the Plaguelands, Kel'Thuzad and the minions of the Lich King, they await any hero foolish enough to challenge them. In the comics, it was actually Darian Mograine that went into Naxxramas. In-game, it's heroes of the Alliance and the Horde. Decked out in frost resistance gear, the world showed Arthas that they had grown very, very strong. Even Kel'Thuzad was defeated, but not completely destroyed, as the greed of heroes would see his phylactery survive, and he would return with Naxxramas during Wrath of the Lich King. I really wonder how many are going to be able to conquer Naxxramas this time around, maybe even obtain the Corrupted Ashbringer. Time will tell, but this is the major background and story that you're going to find within Classic Warcraft. Now, of course, there are going to be many more smaller stories that play out, but talking about all of them would take us all day long. Instead, I'll post a list of quests that I would recommend to check out in the description down below. By all means, let me know your recommendations in the comments as well, and I'll add them to the list. There's also going to be a playlist with videos that I've done in the past, covering events and characters of Classic in much more detail. Per usual, there's also the Wowhead article to check out for more details on all the things that we talked about today. All of that in the description down below. So for now, I think we've been going on for long enough. As always, thank you very much for watching, everyone. Subscribe if you like my videos. Leave a like if you enjoyed this one. And until next time, guys.
35 years ago, we set out with a simple mission: save lives and train health.
As we learned in the last video, humans did not have the best origins. The race was birthed from a horrible curse, a curse that made them short, skinny, and disgusting Vrij-cool, who were abandoned in the Eastern Kingdoms. During these times, human culture continued to grow and adapt, and they split off into multiple different tribes. But these tribes did not remain divided for long. It was the mission of one man to unite the humans under one banner, for if they remained divided, the rising threat of the trolls would wipe them out for good. It's important to realize these are not exactly the typical humans you think of when talking about Warcraft. These were a lot more like primitive, barbarian-like humans that were split into multiple separate factions. In early human history, it is known that they practiced very crude forms of shamanism and druidism, and their spiritual beliefs had nothing to do with the light or anything of the sort. There were many smaller, unnamed tribes, but the three main ones were the spiritual Tirisfal tribe, the savage Ultaraki tribe, and lastly, the Arathi tribe in the southeast. Oh! Thorin! You're back! Oh, it's so nice for you to... Oh, my goodness. I found these trolls only a mile away from our camp. Well, what do you think we should do? There was only one thing to do. Thorin, the leader of the Arathi tribe, knew he had to unite the tribes before this troll threat grew any larger. They needed a leader. I'm king now. I'm sorry. What? I'm king now. Smith me the finest crown you can. Sir, again, I'm sorry, but... Smith me a crown! And so Thorin went on an unstoppable crusade, befriending or defeating every small tribe he found on his expedition. He won these tribes over to his side by peaceful means, like arranged marriages and trading them wealth and land. Other times, these tribes would prove to be much more aggressive, and Thorin would have to conquer them himself. But it's important to note that Thorin was not some sort of tyrant who forced these fellow humans to his will. He gave the leaders of these tribes equality, a beginning to a glorious new human kingdom. These leaders would not fade into obscurity, but fight alongside their king in this bold new beginning. It only took the masterful tactician Thorin 6 years to unite these smaller tribes, but the last two, the Ultaraki and the Tirsfall, would prove to be much more difficult to persuade. First, Thorin focused on the Ultaraki. This clan was well known for being the most savage and barbaric humans in the Eastern Kingdoms. Launching a full-scale assault would only lead to heavy casualties on both sides, and if Thorin wanted to defeat the trolls, having a bunch of dead soldiers would be very counterproductive. No. Thorin decided on a more personal approach. A one-on-one duel to the death with the Ultaraki leader, Igneous. This challenge seemed like a suicide mission to most, as Igneous dwarfed Thorin in size and strength. But Thorin used the weather to his advantage, choosing to duel on the day when the mountains of Ultarak were consumed by a thick fog. Instead of killing Igneous right then and there, Thorin outstretched his hand, offering the warlord and his tribe a position in his new kingdom. The two would later discover this ferocious battle was the beginning of a powerful alliance. But enough about barbaric bromances. There is one last tribe to conquer. That last tribe to join Thorin's new empire was the Tirsfall tribe. The members of this tribe were noble people, and they were deeply spiritual and worshipped the grave of the Titan Keeper Tyr. The demigod's valiant sacrifice seemed to have struck a chord with these people, and they would stop at nothing to preserve this sacred land. If Thorin wanted them on his side, he could not do it by a show of force like he did the Ultaraki. He would have to appeal to their spiritual beliefs.
Safe travels.
Hey up there!
You got my attention.
Oh, hello. Greetings, I am Lordain, leader of the Tirsfall and worshipper of our glorious Tyr. And who may you be? I'm Thorin, leader of the human kingdom. And who is your friend? That is Igneous. He doesn't talk much. Understandable. I get a bit choked up when thinking about Tyr, too. Well, I've heard a lot about you, Thoradin, but if you want us to join your kingdom, you must go through the trials to see if you are following in Tyr's beautiful image. Would you like to begin? Yes, I assume so. Very well. During our first trial, you must show that you are as strong as Tyr. Yes, keep going, just to the top of the hill. I believe in you. You know, Tyr would be very proud of the strength you embody. Next, you must worship the ground Tyr walked on. Let it become a part of you. Here, drink this. Ugh. Now, you must learn how to be selfless. Here we have a pile of gold, and over here we have a defenseless woman who is going to be eaten by bears. Do you save the woman, or do you take the gold? I save the woman? Yes! Good job! Let's keep moving. But no, really, shouldn't we save her? What? Oh no, it's just for show. Lastly, when Tyr was alive, he valiantly sacrificed his hand when fighting a giant dragon. So, we must remove your hand as well. No, I'm just kidding. Congratulations, you have passed the trials, but you do need to provide a blood sacrifice. Very well. Between our people, let this be the only blood we spill. Fantastic! By Tyr's graces, I am assured we will have a bright and heroic future. With the Tyr's fall under Thoradin's banner, he can now say with pride that he had combined the human forces into one secular faction. As a symbolic representation of their alliance, the king requested the personal blades of all of the tribal leaders. It is said that these weapons hold the spirits of their ancient ancestors, and Thoradin smithed all of them together in a mighty greatsword called Stromkar, the Warbreaker. It was with this very weapon Thoradin outlined the perimeter of the capital of the first human kingdom. The city was called Strom, the heart of the Arathor Empire. And why are they doing this again? Oh yeah, trolls. Just as Thoradin expected, the Amani trolls in the north started encroaching on their lands. For the time being, they decided to play defensively. And what better way to do so than build a giant wall? What? No, they're not supposed to do that. Thoradin was foolish enough to think that he could only play defensively. In his many years of combat, he realized a good offense makes for a good defense. It was very common that he and his two generals would be in the front lines of combat, hacking and slashing their way through Amani trolls that dared to trifle with their lands. Igneus was well known for his brutality in combat. He was so well known, he adopted a new name, Trollbane, a name that his descendants would adopt in the years to come. But Trollbane wasn't the only one cracking skulls. During an Amani ambush, Thoradin was separated from his warriors. His people feared the worst and searched desperately through the forests. When they eventually found their king, 10 Amani corpses decorated the lands around him. Oh, thank Tyr you are safe, Thoradin.
What if you could earn an MBA fully online in just 10 months for only $9,900? Eastern University's cutting-edge MBA in Organizational Management is designed to fit what you need in an MBA program. Our innovative LifeFlex model offers 100% online classes that you can complete at your own pace within each 7-week semester. We know how hard you work for your money, so we're thrilled to offer our MBA at only $9,900, making our program between 50 to 80% less expensive than most other schools, while ensuring quality and excellence with the support of our expert faculty. We even offer a concentration in business analytics, an essential skill set needed in today's data-driven economy. With start dates every 7 weeks, Eastern's MBA is handcrafted for you and your needs. So what are you waiting for? Apply today at eastern.edu/MBA.
I'm an overachiever, so I'm always going to strive to be better. Hi, my name is Nicole, and I am living with SMA type 3. I've been told all my life, there's nothing we could do for you. Spinraza was one of the first pieces of hope. I knew that no matter what, I was going to try it. Every time I talk about it, it's like I get chills. To tell you how serious I was about getting on Spinraza, it got approved on December 23rd. I was at my doctor's office on December 26th. This is my experience. If somebody asks me, I'm on the fence, I'm not sure, all I say is, do you want to try to maintain what you have? And I am just blessed with doing a job that I truly love. I live, eat, and breathe graphic design and creativity. I am guilty of being a work.
There was rumors of the Amani trolls locked in a fierce conflict with the elves of Quel'Thalas in the very northern tip of the Eastern Kingdoms. Thoradin refused.
What the fuck? This is insane. What is going on? I genuinely have run out of space. It says I can't loot it for some reason. No, man, this is... No! Get Blizzard? No! Blizzard! Please. Please give it to me.
Always knew someday I would become the hunted.
Please. Please, stop. Guys, stop. Stop. All right. Holy shit! Holy fucking shit! Oh my god! The necklace dropped! Yes, that's what I wanted! Yes, dude! What the fuck? I actually got the mail! I cannot fucking believe it, man. No oh my god, dude! Oh, what the fuck? What the fuck? It's right there! The mount! Holy fuck, man. I'm so happy. McConnell's gonna be pissed. Wait, you're right! Let me take the neck. I want the neck for sure. Holy fuck. Bro, do I use this and just take it? People are pissed off. There's people messaging me. They're like mad. They don't want me to say it. Yeah, listen. Holy fuck, man. I have to go out. Everybody come out. Everybody come outside. Any yoinkers? Shut up. All right. Wow. Holy fucking shit. Let me ride around just a little bit. Oh my god, dude. I cannot believe it, man. I actually got the... It dropped. It actually fucking dropped, man. Send McConnell a screenshot. I will. I will. I've got to find like a postcard thing and I'll send it to McConnell. Okay, guys. Come on, please. You can go kill Lord Robin Dares.
Terribly clumsy.
A Mongooser? Are we... This is the God Seed? I see that. So we got the Mount and the Mongooser. Okay, so who's an enchanter? Let me do these first. Who's an enchanter? Okay, roll. Okay, I'm enchanting Elrath. Okay. Loy with the 7. Alright, nice job, Loy. Belt of Gale Force. Okay, oh, Elrath. Wow. Elrath with the... Okay. Alright. Elrath. Hot Form 77. SSD 98! Elrath! When it matters the most, he fell short. SSD, congratulations. Alright. Belt of Gale Force. Okay, minivan with the 4. That's off spec, so we're gonna give that to minivan, okay? Minivan, if you don't really need that, you and Asmon's Wind Fury can just work it out. Okay, let's keep going. Can't believe you didn't ninja out to your guild. The thing is that, like, I only ninja things that I say I will ninja. I will never ninja something. Everybody knows what I'm going to ninja. There are no surprises. Everybody knows what's going to get taken. Everybody knows what's going to get looted. That's why people trust me and they will raid with me. Is because they can plan out. They're like, okay, he didn't say... Guys, I think this one should go to me. So I was just thinking about it. I was talking about it a little bit ago. And the fact is, like, I've had to trade out a lot of items and a lot of gold. I've had to pay for S-Fans flying. I've had to pay for my flying. I had to pay for McConnell's flying too. I've had to pay for a lot of stuff. I've had to make 2 blacksmithing weapons too. Like, at the end of the day, it's been a lot of money that I've had to spend. And I think that at the end of the day, I think it should go to me. I do. I really do. Even though it's a healing staff, what does it look like? It looks like Locthmar. Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. I've had to spend a lot of money, man. Okay. Any readers? All right, let's roll it off. All right, what do we got? Eggs with 74. Minivan with a 94. Minivan with a 90 fucking 4. Ooh. Congratulations, man. That's a big pog for you. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the loot real quick while you guys buff up. Maiden. Right there. Massive fucking gloves. Huge fucking gloves. Yes, I need these so much. Also, this neck. I need this neck. I need to get this fucking necklace.
Your behavior will not be tolerated.
Okay.
Death comes. Will your conscience be clear?
Yo. That's good enough. That's fucking good enough. That's good enough. Dude, I'm happy. All right, roll this one off. I'm taking the neck. Oh, my inventory's full. Shit. Passed since I got the BOE. All right, Yeek got that weapon as well. All right, congratulations, Yeek. You've already got enough gear, but now you've got even more. Congratulations, Yeek. So I got both my necks, dude. I got both my fucking necks, dude. There it is. 2 chains. Bro, I'm getting dripped out. What the fuck? Like, this is crazy. The Wizard of Oz. Let's talk about the Eternium Great Helm. 48 stam. 3 more sockets. 34 defense rating. Huge. Massive. Insanely good. All right, let's start it. Let's go. Here we go, boys. So we're going for the helmet here. We're going for the helmet. We want to get the Eternium Great Helm. Let's get the gun and the helmet. Gun plus helmet. Gun plus helmet. Let's see it. Gun plus helmet. Please. No fucking way. Yes. Yes, dude, this is my run! Holy shit! This is my fucking run! Bro, it was an omen. I saw the helmet, I threw the helmet away because I knew I was gonna get this helmet instead. Holy shit! Alright, we're getting that one right there. I could use this maybe, but I'm gonna roll it off. Okay, Asmon's Wind Fury Totem rolled a 10, and that's higher than a 9. So it looks like Asmon's Wind Fury Totem wins it. Congratulations, buddy. Let's go. Holy fuck. What is this game, man? I'm kind of nervous. Let's just do it. I'm going now. An ancient being awakens in the distance.
Have a good one.
Okay. This is gonna be a bit of a challenge. I could see, but just do your best, guys. We can kill this boss. We can do this.
5, 4, 3,
Okay.
2, 1.
Okay, I'm getting a lot of parries. Okay, guys, just get through this first phase. Watch your aggro and get through this first phase. If I lose aggro, it's really bad, so just make sure that doesn't happen. Do your best, guys. Do your best. Huge damage on me. Long dicks on me. I'm being surrounded by big dicks right now, so just keep me healed up. Okay, now we've got this coming up. There's air phase. All right, now I'm going to start spamming shout, spamming shout, spamming shout. Remember, stay near him, stay near him, stay near him. Stay near him. Keep it up. Keep picking up these ads. Don't get too far away. I'm just trying to spam commanding as much as I can. Spamming commanding as much as I can. Keep those ads. Keep those ads away. Keep those ads away. You don't want to take any damage. Great job. Dispel Lewin. Dispel. Dispel. Quickly. Okay, let's go. Good job. Everybody get... Come on. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Get away from boss. Get away from boss. Get away from boss. I need an MD. There it is. There it is. Good. 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 Go again. Go again. Go again. Do it right. Thank you for pain suppression. Long dicks. Literally all we do is doing it again. All we do is do it again. Keep those dispels out, guys. Keep those dispels out. Don't be afraid to use potions here. Pretend like this is a kill. Play like this is a kill. Keep it up, guys. Keep it up. Play like this is a kill. Dispels. Okay. That's why I need to make sure I have the fear ward for. Good, great work, great work. Get together, get underneath the boss. Get the spells out. Dispels, 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 dispels. 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 Okay, we can take this a little bit slower if you guys want, and I can try to actually just try to get through this as fast as possible, realistically. Yeah, I'm gonna just spam this as much as I can. Remember, don't kite too far away. Don't kite too far away, guys. Don't kite too far away. Heals on Yeek. Don't let Yeek die. Don't let Yeek die. Finish this ad so it's over. Good. Cleanse yourselves up. Good. Cleanse, cleanse, please cleanse. All right. For this one, I'm gonna open up with a I'm gonna open up with Stone Skin too. Yeah, I'm gonna open up with Stone Skin. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Battle resin. Reposition, reposition. Reposition. Battle resin. Just don't think about it. Don't think about it. Just keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Don't get tilted. Don't get tilted. Alright, we go through one more of these and we kill the boss. Just get through that. Get through that. Just get through that. Get back in position and get those dispels out. Get those dispels out. Don't let it tilt you. Don't let the fear fuck you. Don't let the fear fuck you. Don't be afraid of getting feared. Don't be feared of being feared. Just get through this next transition. There we go. Last phase. Use your potions. Give me a shot. I knew it was going to be over. I didn't want to waste my rage. Stay with the boss. Stay with the boss. Move over here. Stay with the boss. 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 Get over to the other side. Get over to the other side. Get over to the other side. Spamming, 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 spamming. Spamming. I need heals. I need heals. I need heals. Kill the ads. Kill the ads, guys. Kill the ads. Alright, I got them all. Good. Okay, if we can res Luwin, we can. But let's go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and just start. Yeah, just let me get aggro here. And I can shield wall if I need to, okay? Got it. Everybody, everything you got, guys. Everything you got. Get it max range. 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 That was my last stand. Keep it up, guys. Keep it up. Just keep me alive, guys. Keep me alive and keep those dispels up. You off heal if you need to, guys. Off heal if you need to. Off heal if you need to. Do not let me die. Do not let me fucking go down.
Yes.
Keep it up, boys. Keep it up. 3%. Do not fucking let me die. 2%. Finish it. Finish it. Just keep me fucking up. Keep me the fuck up. Do not fucking let me die. Come on, boys. Come on. Take it home. Take it home. Take it home. Nice job. Okay. Alright, let's see the loot. Please. Please.
Motherfucker with a plank. Oh, yeah.
What the fuck? Holy shit!
Through everything to find this little.
Dude, this is the game, man. Oh my fucking god! Roll this. Roll these, dude. Roll these boots off. Look, I gotta make space. I'm getting too much loot. Oh my fuck.
Re-released it. Really? No, I haven't played in God knows how long. And the Worgans, 'cause that's the last time I fucking played. Oh, that's right. The world was like breaking apart and shit when you started with Worgans. Damn. It's just gone. Alright. Right. That's pretty fucking cool. Dude, I'm so mad. I found this like tank truck that was really fucking cool when I was driving it around, fucking around, blowing people up, and then it just randomly fucking exploded. Like, I was driving around, there was nobody nearby, and I just blew the fuck up and died, and now I can't play here. There's so many, like, random glitches and shit like that. If there was a counter for how many times... Yeah, if there was a counter for how many times I died, so there would be, like, 15 fucking grenade kills because I got stuck somewhere and couldn't get out. Just blew myself up. Yeah. Right. Yeah, there's shit like that all over. Like I said, there's spots that you get into and you just can't get back out. Like it won't let you climb up a ledge or something like that. You're just stuck in a ditch. Plus, like I showed you, the people that just randomly float every once in a while. That hasn't happened since the 2 times in a row that it happened when I sent you that video, but it still happened twice in like 5 minutes. The floating people. The weapons.
Grammarly can help you write quickly and confidently, so you never have to slow down at work.
You'll start going oh so fast on like a dirt bike or something, and all of a sudden it'll kick up on its front tire and you'll like spin in circles and then fucking go off course. Like it'll turn you around. Ridiculous. What are you doing over here? Motherfucker. I don't know. Right. That's that like Viking survival game you showed me. I'm sure eventually it's gonna wind up getting the console. That's so good. Right, that's what I'm saying. Is I'm sure it just came out. Give it like a year, and it'll probably be on. It looks good. Yeah, I'm kind of mad that I can't play it. Huh? Right. Yeah, that's not happening. uh, uh, uh. Right. Uh-huh. Yeah, I love playing this kind of games with somebody else. Jesus.
Hello.
Gotta be.
Have a good one.
Yeah, I have this set on like exploration mode. Like Valhalla is that you just have to figure out where things are yourself just by the context of what it gives you. What are you scanning? There's nothing
Go
there.
with honor, friend.
I cannot see. I'm stuck.
What can I do for you? See you around.
VIP. I didn't know there was a VIP. Oh shit. Well, whoever it is, they got away. I didn't know there was anybody to fucking chase. Apparently he got away. Oh, yeah. I remember that shit. What the fuck? I was gonna say. Yeah, I never got the plan. Oh yeah. Fuck yeah, I'm down. Yeah, I never got to play them because when I played Unity, it was when I lived at Alex, it was Phil. He played it on the Xbox One, and everybody else I knew had PlayStation. What the fuck just happened? Piece of shit dirt bike. Uh-huh. Alright then. Alright. Speaking of survival games, by the way, did you ever try Ark? Huh? Did you? Say, I don't either. Right. Yeah, I hate that. Right. That's part of the reason. The other part of the reason is people just let it go. So now substandard is the standard, and they just don't give a fuck. It's alright. Yeah. Another thing I didn't like about Ark, by the way, is the fact that there is a range that you can get, or there's a certain distance that you have to stay within the main person. Huh. Because I fucking hate it. Drives me crazy. Because Steve didn't ever want to fucking go out and explore, and I just wanted to like go out and dick around and look at shit every once in a while, and he never wanted to fucking leave. So. Right. That's why it pissed me off so much, because I couldn't go anywhere. Dirt bike is stuck in the fucking rock. You gotta be kidding me. That's down here in the middle of nowhere. Stop. Don't break.
My